Tonight on To The Point.
Lawmakers here at the state capitol are on a tight deadline to get their bills passed this week. Hear what issues are at stake and how they plan on addressing affordability.
Plus California's Democratic Convention. As the party rallied in Anaheim, the key moments and standout speeches from the weekend. The Senate prepares to take up Trump's big, beautiful bill, why some Republicans say it's too expensive to pass. And Carlos Dominguez takes the stand in the Davis stabbings trial. What was said in court today? And we start with an update to some breaking news. Evacuations were just lifted for parts of Fairfield and Solano County due to a wildfire. The Vista Grande fire is burning in the area of Vista Grande and Capitola Way. The city of Fairfield says forward progress has stopped and evacuation orders have now been lifted. Again, they have now been lifted. Fire crews remain on scene tonight to monitor hotspots and ensure the fire does not reignite. As always, thank you so much for starting your week with us. On To The Point, I'm Alex Bell. Tonight, California lawmakers are on a deadline. Pass their bills out of their original House by the end of the week, or they're killed. The looming deadline has put the pressure on them as affordability becomes a #1 top priority to address. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us in studio tonight with some of the key issues lawmakers are focused on and which bills are actually making it through.
Alex, lawmakers are rushing to get their bills passed through the Assembly and the Senate by this Friday. It comes as more criticism is being pushed on lawmakers to make the state a more affordable place to live.
On Monday, lawmakers in the California State Assembly rushed to get their bills passed with a focus on lowering the cost of living. Bills passed during the floor session tackled issues like homeowners insurance. AB 1 authored by Democrat Assemblymember Damon Connolly.
This bill will make the program better for consumers and incentivize communities and neighborhoods to prepare their homes in case of disaster.
Receiving bipartisan support, Republicans criticized the bill for taking effect in 2030, saying it's too long for homeowners to wait.
I'm hearing from homeowners who are telling me that their insurance rates are spiking so much that they are afraid that they will be forced out of their homes.
Republican Assemblymember Carl DeMille also adds the goal both parties had at the beginning of the year is not currently being fulfilled.
Our caucus is trying to get this chamber to fulfill the Speaker's promise from months ago that we were going to deal with the cost of living crisis in Sacramento.
Another bill that passed and addresses rising costs, AB 61, introduced by Democrat Assemblymember Blanca Pacheco.
This bill requires the Public Advocate's Office at the Public Utilities Commission to analyze the efficacy, cost impact, and overall effect of each proposed legislative mandate on electric and natural gas companies prior to a vote in policy committees.
One of the bills expected to be heard this week is AB 942 regarding a change in a program for homeowners with rooftop solar panels. Opponents say this bill would do the opposite of saving Californians money and addressing affordability.
Rates are high because of out-of-control utility spending on poles and wires and the failure of this building, of the regulators, and of the governor to check that utility spending.
Introduced by Democrat Assemblymember Lisa Calderon, the bill would require new owners of rooftop solar to agree to a new program called the Net Billing Tariff and to get rid of the California Climate Credit through the Cap and Trade program. Ultimately, those advocating for solar say this bill defeats the purpose of choosing solar in the first place.
Now, AB 942 was not heard on the Assembly floor today, but will possibly be heard on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Again, this bill has to pass the Assembly this week, and bills in the Senate have to pass the Senate this week in order for them to continue through the process. Alex.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. The future of rooftop solar in California is headed to the state's highest court. On Wednesday, the California Supreme Court will hear arguments in a lawsuit challenging a controversial decision by the state's Public Utilities Commission. And at the center of the case, a policy that slashed the credits new solar users receive for sending excess energy back to the grid. That policy, which took effect in April of 2023, cut credits by up to 80%. Critics say it stifled rooftop solar adoption, especially in low-income and communities of color, and triggered major job losses across the solar industry. While a lower court previously rejected the challenge, the California Supreme Court agreed to hear the case and is now questioning whether that lower court gave too much authority to the commission's decision. The California Democratic Convention wrapped up this weekend in Anaheim, and it's the first time that Democrats across the state are meeting since the November election. But the top Democrat in the state was noticeably missing, Governor Gavin Newsom. We reached out to the governor's team several times to see if he would be attending the convention, but we did not hear back. Newsom was reportedly at a Democratic Governors Association conference in Portland, Oregon on Sunday, But the weekend drew other national Democratic leaders who are already organizing ahead of the 2026 elections.
But I'm optimistic because our path back starts with winning elections this year. We win the governor's race in Virginia. We win the governor's race in New Jersey. That builds momentum that in 2026 we fire that merry band of that are backing Trump on everything. We take back the House majority, and it goes right through California.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Senators Adam Schiff and Cory Booker headlining the convention with a simple message: focus on the 2026 election and fight back against President Donald Trump's administration.
No. When they want to shut down Social Security offices for our seniors, we say no. When they want to cut services to our veterans, do we let them? No.
Former Vice President Kamala Harris made a video appearance at the convention, but stopped short of answering whether she plans to run for governor. Also drawing attention are the top 7 candidates campaigning for governor in 2026, a competitive fight that's drawn high-profile names to replace Governor Gavin Newsom. And our team has been speaking with all of the candidates. If you want to check out more candidate coverage, look for their interviews on our ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. We will be bringing you more coverage on each candidate very soon. Turning to Washington now, the Senate is back in session today and is set to discuss President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, but not everyone is on board. A handful of Republican senators say they will not support it. Perry Russum is in Washington with what they're saying and also what this means moving forward.
Pressure building on Senate Republicans to pass President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill as a handful of senators signal they are not supporting it, including Senator Ron Johnson.
I just can't support something that actually increases the deficit, and that is what's going to happen right now as the bill is currently written.
As the bill is currently constructed, it promises to slash federal spending by $1.5 trillion. At the same time, by some estimates, it adds $3.8 trillion to the national deficit over the next 10 years, with cuts to Medicaid and food assistance. Republican Senator Rand Paul on CBS.
Well, the math doesn't really add up. One of the things this big and beautiful bill is it's a vehicle for increasing spending for the military and for the border. It's about $320 billion in new spending. To put that in perspective, that's more than all the DOGE cuts that we found so far.
The bill extends Trump's 2017 tax cuts, allocates $50 billion to resume construction of the border wall, and speeds up Medicaid work requirements. According to the Nonpartisan Budget Office, more than 8 million Americans are projected to lose Medicaid coverage.
The governmental public health system is the core system that keeps communities safe and healthy. And if any part of that starts to shift, we could see direct and immediate impacts to the health of people on the ground.
Republican Senator Joni Ernst heckled at a town hall after saying the bill would prevent undocumented immigrants from receiving Medicaid.
They are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So for heaven's sakes.
The bill has already passed the House, winning approval by a single vote. Senate Republicans do have the ability to change the bill, vote on it, approve it, then the bill goes back to the House, where there could be even more debate among Republicans. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Still ahead on To the Point, new details in the Davis stabbings trial. Carlos Dominguez testifies in his own defense, what he said on the stand. Plus thousands of dollars in stolen cherries in San Joaquin County, how the case may be tied to a larger theft ring across California.
And continuing the pattern of warm temperatures, but also elevated fire danger. We'll talk about both of those things after the break.
An update to breaking news. We are following evacuations that were lifted for parts of Fairfield in Solano County due to a wildfire. The Vista Grande fire is burning in the area of Vista Grande and Capitola Way. The city of Fairfield says forward progress has stopped and evacuation orders have now been lifted. Again, those evacuation orders have now been lifted, and we know that fire crews remain on scene tonight to monitor hotspots to ensure the fire, of course, does not reignite. But let's get over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef with a look at your forecast, because it has been dry, hot, and even windy a lot of times, right?
Yeah, and that is why we still have a red flag warning in the mid to upper parts of the Sacramento Valley. Now, where the fire was out through the Delta, of course, in Solano, there is not a red flag warning. But this is just how it's going to be until we get back to the rainy season. It's hot, it's dry, we get these breezes, and it doesn't take much for these grass fires to start and spread quickly, especially when we have that wind. Even though it's a Delta breeze, it's that onshore wind. It can still push fires around 25-mile-per-hour winds in Fairfield right now, about 10 in Sacramento, Stockton, and closer to 15 in Modesto. But notice out in Vacaville and Fairfield, it's been gusting up over 30 miles per hour this afternoon and evening. It was also warm out there. 84 in Fairfield, 90 Vacaville, 91 Sacramento, 91 Stockton, 90 Modesto, 91 Marysville, 80s in the foothills, 70s in the high country. And we were running about 5 degrees warmer than normal for the time of year. So it was a very hot weekend. And we're not quite as hot, but it's definitely still warmer than normal. Down to 82 currently in Sacramento, 84 in Stockton, 85 Manteca, 88 in Modesto, 83 Vacaville, 75 in Fairfield, 90 Colusa, 91 in Marysville. So temperatures are dropping, and that's in large part thanks to that Delta breeze. We've had some thunderstorms across the crest of the Sierra as well, but at this point, it's just some lingering showers, especially down near Yosemite. Here in the valley, we'll be about 80 degrees at the top of the hour, 73 degrees by 8 o'clock, and 66 degrees at 10 o'clock tonight. So if you're off to the A's game against the Twins, some pretty decent weather out there. Not too hot. A fairly nice evening, especially for the start of June. Tuesday morning, we're going to be in those mid-50s across much of the valley, right where we should be. A very mild overnight period, and we'll top out around 91 again tomorrow afternoon. So a similar day is ahead for tomorrow. 91 Sacramento, 88 in Elk Grove and Stockton, 91 Manteca and Modesto, 97 up in Colusa, mid-80s out near Vacaville and Fairfield, mid-80s in the foothills as well. Low relative humidity, though, and northerly gusts 15 to 25 miles per hour in the upper valley a few days this week is going to be leading to some of that elevated fire danger. So breezy through the overnight and early morning hours tomorrow. Then that Delta breeze picks up. But notice how in the upper valley we get those occasional north winds. That is leading to that elevated fire danger. There's no real trigger here for fire danger. It's just that it's hot, it's dry, and it's windy at times, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. Next on To the Point, we're hearing directly from Carlos Dominguez in his own murder trial, what he said on the stand, plus a horrific attack on a Jewish community. Tonight, the accused attacker faces federal hate crime charges in court. Tonight, for the first time, we're hearing directly from Carlos Dominguez in his own murder trial. The 22-year-old former UC Davis student is accused of killing 2 men and injuring a woman in a series of stabbings back in 2023. And we do want to warn you that some of the details in this story may be disturbing. Here's ABC 10's Roxanne Elias.
Alex Carlos Dominguez took the stand in a very matter-of-fact manner today. He began by answering many of the defense's questions with yeses and nos, but that quickly took a turn as he described in detail his life in El Salvador, where he was born.
Mr. Carlos Dominguez, do you have a mental illness?
Yes.
Within minutes of taking the stand in his trial Monday, Carlos Dominguez admitted to having schizophrenia. The defense started by questioning Dominguez about his childhood living in El Salvador with his grandmother. Dominguez says he used to call her mom and dad and that he did not know where his parents were at the time. In a statement, he also recalled inappropriate behavior when being cared for by a maid when his grandmother was at work.
I remember she told me she had something to show me, and she took me into one of the rooms of the house, and she started getting undressed, and then she got me undressed.
The defense then went on to ask him about leaving El Salvador, having to cross the border as a child, and being detained by ICE before reaching his parents in Oakland.
I remember crossing like a park, like it was a field with trees, and then crossing like a desert area, and I remember there was this hole that we had to jump over to get by one of the areas.
Once reaching his family, he recalled his parents being in an abusive relationship and fighting while drunk on the weekends. In the second part of his testimony, his defense attorney asked him about the times he first started to notice the signs of schizophrenia during his freshman year of college.
Once I was in Kaylee's dorm, and I had a dream where I don't remember if I woke up or if I just woke up in the dream, and I seen like a devil, like a shadow figure at the corner of the room, sitting down on a table with paper.
Dominguez described several instances of seeing figures and later whispering voices. Throughout the trial, the defense is trying to prove he was going through a psychotic break, but the prosecution will have their chance to argue he committed the stabbings as premeditated attacks. The trial is expected to start back up tomorrow morning with the prosecution cross-examining Dominguez. They tell me it could be an all-day thing, and we could possibly expect closing statements the earliest on Friday. In Woodland, Roxanne Elias, ABC 10.
Sheriff's deputies in San Joaquin County are investigating after a cherry theft uncovered possible statewide criminal connections. Officials say they were called to the area of Waterloo and Fairchild Roads just after noon Sunday after witnesses saw people picking cherries from trees on an orchard belonging to Murata Produce. Deputies arrested 3 people who they say illegally picked over $2,000 worth of cherries. Inside the suspect's car, they allegedly found cash and ledger books tying them to similar thefts across the state.
They had already picked 20 boxes of cherries and done an extensive amount of damage to the trees while they were picking it. So now this is going to impact the future profitability of these trees and impact these farmers for years.
Investigators believe the same 3 thieves would sell their stolen fruit at stands. Authorities are still investigating the possible string of crimes and say leads have started popping up across several counties. New tonight, federal hate crime charges have been filed against a man accused of carrying out an attack against a group of Jewish community members in Boulder, Colorado. Alex Stone reports tonight from Boulder with new details.
Making his first appearance in a Boulder County courtroom, 45-year-old Mohammed Solomon is now charged, including with federal hate crime counts.
Mr. Solomon stated that he had been planning this attack for a year. And he acted because he hated what he called the Zionist group.
At the scene of the attack today, city crews using pressure washers to clean off burn marks left behind by the makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktail-type devices Solomon is accused of using to attack his victims.
And when he was interviewed about the attack, he said he wanted them all to die. He had no regrets, and he would go back and do it again.
Authorities say there were at least 12 victims. 2 remain hospitalized, critically injured, but they are expected to survive. The Department of Homeland Security says Solomon is in the country illegally after overstaying a work permit. In a social media post responding to the attack, President Trump writing, "It will not be tolerated." Witnesses retelling what it was like as Solomon allegedly attacked the group during a pro-Israel march.
I saw fire, I saw people falling and screaming and crying and tripping.
The attack in Boulder coming only 2 weeks after 2 Israeli embassy staff members were shot and killed in Washington and weeks after the firebombing attack on the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. Court records say Solomon told police he had learned how to make Molotov cocktails by researching them on YouTube and that he had specifically targeted the group. Alex Stone, ABC News, Boulder, Colorado.
Solomon is due back in court on Thursday for the filing of state charges. President Donald Trump says that he will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Still ahead on To The Point, a Sacramento community is getting a major housing boost where crews just broke ground on a brand new project and what it means for local families. New affordable housing is coming to Citrus Heights. Crews broke ground today on a new housing development along Sayonara Drive. Each of the 26 homes will feature 2 to 5 bedroom layouts, rooftop solar panels with battery storage, all electric and EV ready infrastructure, and drought tolerant landscaping. The project, in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, is a key part of the neighborhood's ongoing revitalization. As always, thank you so much for watching and for inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think me and the team should be looking into, you can always reach out to us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And remember, strangers are just people that we haven't gotten the chance to meet yet, so take the time to get to know someone. And look, we know we cover a lot of ground here on To The Point, so if you missed a show or if you just missed a story and are looking for a specific one, you remember that you can always download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app straight to your TV, and you can catch up on your news of the day. You can rewatch To The Point or look for that story that you're missing. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.